Okay, so for a while, Mike was going to be the lead, but then he wanted to go to OP. So I became the lead, and it was like, wow, what a crazy first set to lead with the double-faced cards and all. And so partially it was just deciding, okay, we're going to have these because they are perfect fit. Like, you have to be willing with Magic to try new things periodically. And they were a really perfect fit, I thought, for the werewolves. And I knew Mark loved them, and I knew Aaron loved them. So I'm like, all right, I guess they're going to be in here, and I'm going to figure out how to make them just play as well as possible. Right. It was the first thing I was thinking of. And there were tweaks along the way, like they used to, the werewolves would flip at end of turn. And that would mean that sometimes they would just flip to human at the end of turn and just immediately die from damage they already had. And there was the end of turn glitch, and it said 2 spells, not 2 spells from a player, which meant I could just cast an instant and be the second spell. So there were things like that, but I think I thought they were quite fun for some people, and it was always a concern, like, you know, just trying to give enough feedback to OP so they have stuff to work with, but even that's kind of limited. So it's, you know, it's obviously a challenge there, but I still think they're so cool that they're worth it. It was always a bunch of them, actually.
Oh, nice.
We changed the exact numbers. Mero hadn't done the math on, you know, to make a uncommon werewolf show up as much as an uncommon, just any card in the set. There's math involved to get the frequencies right, which he didn't do, so we had to change the numbers around some, but basically, yeah, he had worked really hard on getting them right for the most part. No, I mean, the most challenging, of course, was, which we actually made in development, was Garrick, his 5 ability Planeswalker, like 4 ability Planeswalker, something went wrong, 5 ability Planeswalker is going to be even riskier, because it's actually a 6th ability, the trigger condition, so it's like, well, we don't get to the backside enough to know. We have to test it a lot. That was definitely the hardest card, but no, most of them were, like the I don't know what it was called, the little girl who becomes a demon. I don't know what. That one was just unchanged. He just designed that. It was like, that was sweet. We did move the cheap werewolves from common to uncommon. One I changed was the human that becomes an insectoid.
Ah, the Delver of Secrets.
Okay, so that one, it flipped on creatures. And I said, well, why does this blue card flip on creatures? That should be a green card. And he said, but no one would play if it flipped on spells. And I thought, I don't think you're right, Mark. I think that could see some play in Constructed, maybe even Legacy, and there. So the biggest change in development was there weren't really decks for the enemy colors at all, and there were no off-colored flashback cards. And I wanted to put Ancient Grudge in the set, and Mark said, but there are no off-colored flashback cards. That would look very strange. And Ken Nagel was on the development team, and he said, it'll be a lot of work, but why don't you just do it? Just put off-colored flashback in the set. And so I tried to work with the team, and it was just too hard because there's so many constraints on what are we trying to do, what are the other cards. So I just made 10 of them, and we went forward from there, modifying some of them. But so we had the 10 flashback cards, and then we were working on what the enemy colored decks are going to be, because there really wasn't, the 5 tribes were there, but it was like, well, let's put some things for more advanced players in the other colors. So it's not like, well, I drafted a white card, I might play blue or green. You want to be able to play white and red, and like blue, green, and so blue, red. There wasn't a deck for blue, red, and it was like, well, why don't we move more of the flashback colors out of black and into blue and red, and make a blue, red flashback deck. And the Insectoid was definitely intended as, if you have a lot of spells, this would be a card you wouldn't have to pick very early because no one else would necessarily want to take it very early, but it would be awesome in your deck. So I thought it would both two play. I guess it did. Yeah. Oh, Mark is just like, he doesn't really play a constructed deck. The idea of it, aggro control is not exactly what Mark focuses on. That's but like the card, I was surprised. I thought Snapcaster Mage was just so much stronger than it that it might not see any play.
Right.
But I do have another story about that card, which was the first game I played in Limited. It's like, okay, you're going to be the lead. Why don't you play a game? Build my sealed deck. I play against someone named Michael McKelvey. Mike is He wasn't editor at the time. He works on duels. And turn 1, he plays the Delver of Secrets, which was creatures. And I'm playing sealed, so I play a land. In turn 2, he reveals a creature, hits me with a 3-power flyer, and plays a 2-drop. I play a land. That happens sometimes in sealed.
Right.
And then the next turn, he plays a 3-drop and hits me for 5. And I play a creature, and he just gets rid of it, and I'm like, I'm dead on the board. And so then Erik comes by, and he's like, okay, so you started to play. What do you think of the set? And I was like, I guess I don't think the 1-mana 3/2 flyer should be common. I don't have a lot of insight here. I died on turn 4.
Oh.
Because I looked at his cards and I was like, that's a common? This is a powerful set.
Yeah, really? Holy cow! I mean, because creatures occur, that much more often in your sealed deck or in your draft deck.
Right, especially sealed.
Yeah, definitely.
But so one of my big goals in sealed development was to get a deep draft environment where there were a lot of things to do. So definitely moving the flip cards, the 1-mana werewolves to uncommon, so they weren't just dominating. But for example, the blue-red has the flashback theme, and blue-green has rewards for putting creatures in your graveyard. And white-black, the off-colored flashback, I think gears you a little bit towards the solar flare style deck. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we tried to make sure that we're not saying these are the only things that work in that color, but make sure that there's, in addition to just like I have some rares, I have some good cards, I'm going to play by the fly, but also, here's a deck you can draft. And sometimes we don't try and make them particularly powerful, at least I don't. It's like, here's a deck you can draft. Maybe you can find a better thing. I'm not saying that I've found the best thing, but I've at least found some cool thing you can do with each color pair. Snapcaster Mage. So Tiago Chan's invitational card. His was a land that you could cycle to counter a spell. And
that's fun.
Yeah, I had, made, and Randy was more successful with a 21 counterspell deck with a Rainbow of Freed. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, this is just like adding 4 more counters to the, now I won't get mana screwed and won't run out of counters. That's not very fun. So Zach Hill worked with him, and I was thinking, wow, this is really powerful, but we'll test it. And I guess we'll have to see. I'm still a little concerned about that card, but Zach's a very great guy, and fingers crossed that this won't be totally broken.
I felt that the push, like the area in which you went that card is good, that card is whoa, was the word flash.
The flash, yeah. Ironically, flash, yeah. Some editing error occurred, and we were testing without flash for a while, though Zach had intended it to have flash. And so then we tested with flash. It's like, wow, this is really good, but I'm hoping that it's strong enough to be. Well, obviously strong enough to play in Legacy, but strong enough to play in old formats and give them Vintage. They could use a few more creatures that are playable without busting Standard. So it's kind of running a really small line there, playable in Vintage, not busted in Standard.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
But overall, Standard, we were going for a little bit slower environment, a little bit less about just a couple powerful cards, and I guess the Titans are very powerful, obviously, but we definitely were just going for there's a lot of stuff you can do, because the Star City Circuit has definitely changed how we perceive. We used to think if an environment can last 4 high-level tournaments, and then the next set comes out, that would be plenty. Even 3 years ago, that would have been plenty. And now between Star City and the extra Grand Prix, there's a tournament a week, so we definitely are, I don't know, we'll see how it works out, but we definitely were aiming for, something that would change a little more frequently between rotations. Liliana, so she was definitely going to be in the set. Some of her abilities actually are the original Liliana that Mark Rosewater had made for Lorwyn.
Wow.
He had made the We Both Discard. So I went to Creative and asked them, can you describe Liliana to me, just her character. How would you describe her? And they said, she's a blank, and used a derogatory term. And so, why does she make you both discard a card? Because she's having fun at your expense. Why will she make your opponent sacrifice a creature? She'll protect herself once, but if you can't take it from there, she's out of here. And then she makes you play this cruel game, because she's not there for you. She's having fun on her own. That's what we're trying to get across. She's having kind of fun at your expense. I mean, it's weird. At the time, I thought, okay, Mark had designed the Invisible Stalker, the hexproof, unblockable creature, and I thought, well, this is a little frustrating. But there are a few other cards which were, this is a little risky, and let's take a risk. And honestly, if you take 4 risks and only one of them turns out poorly, you were kind of right to take the risks, but you should learn from the lesson and not combine hexproof and unblockable and low rarity. So I would definitely, in hindsight, I would change that, but I knew going forward that was a risk. Right, but there's only one way to know for sure how people are going to receive this card. Like, is it too frustrating, or is it the right level of frustration?
Geist of St. Trapped is similar in some ways.
Yeah, I think that's a cooler card. Personally, that's pretty fun. It's like, well, just block me. Yeah. You can't block me. You get smacked. But not like Ophidian in that Ophidian's fun, but Ophidian, if you can't block a couple times, you're down a couple cards, right, as opposed to down 12 life. I know 12 life sounds harder to come back from. Sometimes those 2 cards are just impossible to come back from. If it's just like kill your blocker with the new cards.
But the idea of the Invisible Stalker and the Butcher's Cleaver, being a thing, and
Yeah, I mean, white could have used an artifact kill spell that would have reduced white can't kill artifacts. So instead of normally, often there's only one color pair, only blue-black can't kill an artifact. And if white could in this set, you'd be back to that. So I definitely think if you could blow up the Cleaver, the 1/1 unblockable isn't the real problem. It's part of the problem, but the real problem is when you put the Cleaver on, and then it's like, well, now you're gaining 4 per turn, and I can't win. Right. So, yeah, I mean, no set is perfect. No set in Magic has ever been perfect. No set will be perfect, because it always has to change. And there's always going to be some mistakes, but if you expect me to say, people think, wow, that's so horrible, it's a bad set. It's like, no, that's, bad is like, pestilence or something like that. I like this set a lot. I'm very proud of it.
You did a great job.
Thank you very much, Evan.